So I found a little carpenter bee outside. Oh, sorry, waking her up. But it's a retired carpenter bee and can no longer fly. Just barely buzzes around. So I tried to make a little retirement home for it. I saw a gal do this on YouTube once and I thought, what a great idea. Just get ready to pass on. Anyway, so I thought that made me think of the symbolism of Deseret, of the beehive that we have specifically in our church, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And some of the symbolism that we see of that in the scriptures. And so I'm going to look just a little bit into 1 Nephi 17, where this shows up, but we know in the Bible there's a lot of symbolism of a land flowing with milk and honey. And this fits nicely into the theme of El Shaddai, of Shaddai specifically, which I talked about in another video. But the symbolism of our Mother God being one that that provides or that suckles her children, and we see the symbolism of providing, of nourishing, of God nourishing their children in Moses, for instance, in the Exodus, when Moses smites the rock and it issues forth many waters, which also has paradisiacal symbolism too, a mountain from which flowing rivers come. But at any rate, I talked about in the Shaddai video, I think, about how Zori Shaddai is a name in the Bible meaning God. Shaddai is my rock. Anyway, so this symbolism of flowing with milk and with honey is a mother's milk. And the beehive is a temple symbol. Within a beehive, you have the queen bee, the mother god. It is her house. And you have her worker bees are all female as well. And these bees create honey, which is amber color, you know, a heavenly celestial color that you find in the scriptures. And it's a mother's milk, but it's celestialized, I guess, or symbolically so. And so when you see in the scriptures a place that is flowing with milk and honey, it has temple connotations and connotations of being in heaven with God. So in 1 Nephi 17, it starts the chapter talking about the women in the camp, the mothers, and I think this is significantly placed in there, or purposefully. I think that we don't see women in the scriptures very often, and in this case, they're there for a reason. It says that they did give plenty of suck for their children, and were strong. And I think that this plays into what the theme. It's a foreshadowing of the theme that will later occur in this chapter. It says, "Thus we see that God does nourish their children and strengthen them and provide for them." And that part is in verse 3. So here's the theme of providing, of suckling the children. And first we see it with the mothers in the camp, and then with God providing and nourishing. I think those are there because they're a theme, that they're together for a reason. It says, and this is where we come to the point, we did come to the land which we called bountiful because of its much fruit and wild honey. So fruit also is a symbol of the tree of life, or the mother god, and wild honey, we just said, is symbolic of her ability to nurture her children. And it says, we beheld the sea, behold it. So this is kind of a pinnacle moment, which we called Iriantum, meaning many waters. And they pitched their tent by the seashore. It reminds me of when they pitched their tents towards the temple to listen to King Benjamin's speech. God's voice is like a voice of rushing water, of many waters. The ocean is also, I would say, a typical symbol of creation. Say like the primordial oceans, right? The beginning of everything, and how it begins in this watery womb, essentially, or that it has symbolic meaning towards that. In Genesis, it talks about the Spirit of God brooding, is the word they use, over the Tehom, over the deep. So again, this is kind of this primordial ocean, this beginning place where creation begins. And I think it's interesting that they have all of these specific symbols in this chapter. I think it's significant that it's the chapter in which Nephi builds a ship. I think that Noah, I'll make another video sometime about the symbols in the story of Noah, as far as creation symbols. And I think those symbols are in the book of Ether with the brother of Jared, as well as hinted at in this chapter, Nephi 17, 1 Nephi 17. And yeah, so our little bees represent the female side of deity in the temple.